All right, everybody, what's up? Welcome to your reading for the full moon in Capricorn happening on the 13th of July and the 14th of July in the Southern Hemisphere. This is a full supermoon, so it means that the moon is at its closest proximity to Earth that it will be all year, which means that in terms of manifestation and reflection, this is going to come up the most strongly that it will the entire year. And so if you're planning to do some sort of acknowledgement or ritual for the full moon, you're planning to put some sort of wish forth, you're planning to do some sort of ceremony, it's basically got its best shot to go as far as it possibly can in this particular full moon. I have a couple of notes for the collective energy before I start doing the read. The read is going to be a little bit unconventional because we are in unconventional times. And I really want to acknowledge at first that you are definitely not alone in this experience of this challenging, very challenging transformation. This means that there's a lot of pain. It means there's a lot of letting go. It means there's a lot of discomfort and rocky roller coaster moments. But the biggest ask that you are being requested to embody at this time is the choice at the why. And I'm going to be frank, if you live in a city, this is going to be harder because the energies are so much more intense. But there is a why at every major crux of life and history. And there is the choice to go into the narrative and slide into the narrative of chaos and destruction and cyclical thinking of how hard everything is, how shitty everything is. Because when you look for that justification, you will always find it. And you will always find other people who want to commiserate in that. You know, there's that really old saying that misery loves company. And it really is true because it's easy and it's cathartic and it's so simple to just get everything out in that way. But the other, and I'm not saying to repress, because that's really important to make sure that we still feel everything that we're feeling and we release and we express in some way. I'm talking about our mindset, our day-to-day mindset of when we look outside at the world, what are we shooting for and what are we heading towards and what are we trying to build in our gardens? And so the request that's being made right now for your embodiment in this world is to choose the more challenging route at the why, to believe in the fact that we're headed towards something that will bring us together and that will keep Gaia spinning and that will keep the earth breathing and that will keep all of us going. And maybe some of this loss and this change and this revolution that's happening is for the better because we're living in systems that don't serve us. And so if we've been talking about how we want systems to change for so long, we have to be willing to go through the change of them falling apart. And so making a choice of deciding whether you speak to the chaos that's happening or you speak to the light and you speak to the love and you speak to the positive moments in your day, however small or however few, because you are building something that is more prosperous and more long-lasting when you choose that route than if you join into the collective garble of fear and negativity and algorithms and the like. You know, we are sovereign beings and we have the choice to go in the direction of love. And I'm really being asked to communicate that forward for this full moon because it feels like a scary world out there. And so if you don't have anything to believe in, what are you moving towards? And that's going to be something that you're going to be asked to find within yourself and to find truly within your heart and within your body to find something that you believe in, so that you can make sure that you're waking up and you're choosing to live in love and you're choosing to live in the light with good reason. And the second thing that's an energy forecast, or part of the forecast before I pull any of the cards or read any of the cards, is there is such a strong necessity. It's so necessary right now to say no, especially when it comes to energetic boundaries. This is a very, very big one. All of the soft souls, all of the givers, all of these people, often the people I'm talking to, all of these silent, peaceful warriors who are usually so okay with being a little bit taken advantage of, or a little bit emotionally depleted because their partner needs a little bit more from them, or a little bit worn down because they just needed to help this, and this person, even though they're not really feeling supported. You absolutely have to say no this time around. And you can do that in ways that aren't direct, that don't feel as scary. Communicate boundaries in a way that preserve your well-being. So if that means, for example, I live in a pretty central communal location, and I'm a very private person. And so I have 3 signs outside of my door. I have a red sign that has a hand that says no visitors. I'm not asking or welcoming visitors right now. I have a yellow sign that holds space in the middle for, I'm not really accepting visitors, but if you have something to communicate, then proceed. And I have a green welcome. And so for me, putting up signs to show people that these are my boundaries is a more literal way of me communicating to the world, I'm available or I'm not. And so for you, that could be setting a boundary of answering text messages right away, or choosing to only be on Facebook Messenger at a certain time in the day, or only responding to a need of somebody else at a certain time in the day. But you absolutely have got to say no at some point this week because it's going to feel really liberating once you do it the first time. It's kind of like jumping into cold water. It feels like so something you don't want to do. And then once you're in, you feel amazing. So say no and choose love or don't, but be aware that you're making that choice. So in terms of the reading, it's going to be a little bit unconventional. I had 12 cards fall out of the deck in a group earlier this week. And so I looked over them relatively quickly, got a very strong download that this was the collective read for this week and for the full moon. It's all very fitting. And so instead of pulling decks or cards and shuffling decks this week, I have the cards with me and I'm just going to read them as we go. It might be a little bit longer of a read, but I'm not going to go quite as in depth because they're very categorized. So I will go through the cards as they are next to me and know that this reading is meant to last a little bit longer. It's not just this is valid for the full moon or 3 days or whatever. This is more of this is kind of a summer, midsummer, mid-season type of read. And so things are going to resonate for a little bit longer. So in terms of general collective energy, I'm sure a lot of you are going to resonate with this anyway. We are going through a purge of sorts. And we absolutely are feeling this dragon fire energy. It almost feels like the crust of the earth is being heated and burned away so that we can create anew. Very much a phoenix type of energy. And remember, we are going to be in a better place once this phoenix energy passes and once the storm passes and we have all of this movement that happens after that will allow us to create the change that we're looking for. But we can't skip the purge part. We don't get to skip the difficult part. We don't get to skip the flames in order to bring life anew. there are certain acorns in the forest that only expand and they only open after a forest fire. So take solace in the fact that fire is necessary and burning away is necessary and purging is necessary. And to the best of your ability, embrace the intensity. Some people really love to stand right next to the fire, or they really love really hot saunas or hot baths. Embrace the intensity to the best of your ability, because it's going to be really unique. And in companionship with that, how much can you let go of? This is a big one. We often don't know who we are without our stuff or without our things. And, allowing this possibility that maybe we can let go of more if we realized, and that actually might make us a little bit happier. So, major collective shedding. Swinging right into the divine feminine. And I often preface with this, but don't love the words masculine and feminine. I find them quite polarizing. Yin and yang energy works a little bit better for me. But when I'm speaking towards the divine feminine, I'm talking about the general oppression that has been experienced for, women, yes, but also people who have been victims of the patriarchy, which is essentially everybody. But I'm talking about this rising of nurturing and softer energy, the rising of yin energy, the rising of calmer seas. That's more what I'm talking about when I say the divine feminine. And so when we're speaking about that movement and that larger pilgrimage, we're pretty tired. It's been tough and it's been exhausting, and this poor angel is really reflecting the truth. And so if you're feeling like this, it's okay to be honest about that. You can be honest about how hard things are and not give up. But the Bella Rosa, the reverse Bella Rosa here, it's really going to be about taking those masks off, taking our hoods down, and letting ourselves be seen in the state that we're in. Are we doing well? Maybe not. That's okay. Being seen in that way could be more healing than pretending like everything is fine and getting a pat on the back for keeping it all together. Because it's really more about the honesty and the unveiling and feeling safe enough to unveil. And that's something that is brand new in the collective energy right now, is that there's a degree of safety that's never been there before, to take the mask off and to take the hood down, to be seen in the state of being that we're in right now. And that's something that is worth noting as a positive thing. Okay, next we're going to go into relationship. So I'm speaking about a partnership, a friendship, a relationship, whatever relationship comes to mind with you. Could be family or friend, lover, whatever. But they are in hiding. And this is not necessarily personal. It could be something that was a result of an interaction with you. It could be a result of something bigger than that. But the point is that they are not feeling safe right now. And to the best of your ability, refrain from pushing. Don't push them. If you need to hold space for the silence, that might be the best thing that they're needing right now. And that can feel isolating on your part. But when you acknowledge the fact that the silence that you're allowing them to have, or the distance or the processing time you're allowing them to have, is an action on your part, you're actively allowing them to do that. That could be more, it could be setting the groundwork for more of a positive turn than you're expecting. So don't push them. Don't necessarily take it personally. but they are tucked away and it kind of is out of your hands at this moment. Okay, the next one is it's an inner child read of sorts, but it really comes down to your core essence, your core being, and the best, it's sort of like the highlight in the read, the best way that you can move things into a more positive situation or a more positive light in your life at this time. And so this is the dream card and the fairy card. And I like that it's technically framed as a mirror card, 9 of mirrors, because it really is about reflecting into your younger self about joy and dreaming. And this is something that's been a theme for a while, for all of 22 that I bring up often is what used to bring you joy? Before Instagram, before Netflix, before maybe movies, you might be a movie buff, but before social media, before all of that kind of stuff, what brought you joy as a kid? Was it drawing? Or was it making little figurines out of clay? Or was it collecting cards of sorts? What did you used to enjoy? Because that's going to be a huge catalyst for giving you something to anchor yourself to when things are feeling unstable. And to pair that with this next piece, the inner joy and the inner child activity also comes to a dreamscape. What are your dreams? Get back to that. What are you dreaming for? What are you aiming for? I'm not talking about measurable goals. I'm talking about your dreams. What do you feel in your body when you're dreaming of your perfect life or the life that makes you feel really fulfilled? Maybe you're already in it and, all you're searching for is inner peace or outer peace, and that's really wonderful. But, it's so easy to get bogged down with the day-to-day right now that it's going to be so valuable for us to keep our dreams, in a little picture over our heads. Or maybe even print it off and hanging over our office or by our computer or on our fridge. But what are you dreaming for and what has made you happy in the past? Because those two things are really going to help you shift into the rest of this intensity, which is summer, but the rest of this intensity and into more space to breathe. Yeah, let's do this one next. So this is again relationship, but it's a slightly different tone. It's not as close to the chest. It's a little bit more about friendships and impending connections. So I've got 2 cards here. Wait for the focus. There we go. So 3 of mirrors and the mime. So one of them, the card with the lion and the lamb, is definitely about a connection that is going to be returning to your life that if you are willing to be neutral about and you can open your heart to, it may actually serve you much better than you are expecting. And it may surprise you. And so let that in if it feels safe to. And when I say safe, I mean in your gut, I don't mean I'm scared I was hurt. I mean, does it genuinely feel like this is something that feels okay in your body, or do you feel quite scared that or uneasy that it's not a safe environment? Because those are good things to look out for. But returning connection could really, really be very home-like feeling for you. And then the mime on my right, is not only about humor and the deep, deep necessity to bring humor into your relationships right now. Try to be the one cracking the jokes, but it's also to keep an eye out for a friend or a connection that may be that for you. Laughter is so important right now. It's something that we can usher in with open arms. And so if we can allow that connection to flourish, or we can be that for somebody, that also is really gonna it's gonna open your doors to meeting other people and to connecting to other people in ways that you never realized or imagined. I mean, you might have the power to change the energy of like quite a large group using humor. Okay, this is our last relationship card. And this is going to be different for everybody. It's sort of a jack of all trades card when it comes to relationships. But what's coming in is the ability to assess yourself in the relationship of the past. Sorry, I mix my words up here. The ability to assess yourself in the way that you've behaved in relationships in the past with a degree of neutrality. This enigmatic being is ever changing, and we are also ever changing. And so allowing ourselves to look back on who we have been with a degree of neutrality, with an understanding that this ship will sail and that we aren't the same people we have always been, and we're not going to continue to be the same people we've always been, and to be dynamic in our relationships, to be unexpected and to be unusual, because that will give us the space to heal wounds that we thought were quite cyclical. The longer we think wounds are cyclical, the less space we give ourselves to believe we can change them. So remind yourself that who you have been in the past in relationships is not necessarily who you are now, and take that moving forwards. Okay. I'm going to wrap up with that one. This is more of an interpersonal or intrapersonal card, series of cards. I say interpersonal. I'm more meaning like it's within your deep being, and then sort of your connection with you and the universe. And so it's, again, I see those as very clear mirrors for me, like everything that's going on in you, and then the greater beyond, like the greater view of what's happening in the world. And so we've got these two cards, and it's really just about like the wheels of life will turn, like nothing is out of balance, like nothing is falling into chaos, nothing is like we're not in this sort of like crazy spiral unpredictable thing. Like there is an order to what's happening, and there's a rhythm to what's happening, and this is more about coming back to ritual and things that make you feel connected and grounded to your inner path and your sovereignty. And so for some people, that's really about getting up 15 minutes earlier and doing a gratitude list and making coffee or making a tea. And for some of us, that's about writing our goals down and lighting a candle and burning them away to sort of send them out into fruition. But having some sort of ritual or ceremony to come back to, maybe it's just a really good bedtime routine. Things that create order within your life to help you feel like you are in the rhythm of the greater picture. And before I wrap up with our final card here, one more download that's coming through that has come up earlier and is really feeling necessary to share, especially with the sensitive beings, is that we're getting to a point in the world and with energies and with entanglement that you can't keep trashing your body. So there are certain habits, certain foods especially, and I'm saying that because of the word coffee, but if you're somebody who feels like you participate in things that are relatively cultural, but they don't actually feel that good in your body, you really are going to be asked to step back and decide if those are things that you can continue doing. um, turning to junk food when things are difficult, or, you know, having a coffee because it's a social thing, or drinking, things like that. You're being asked to be courageous and brave and to treat your body with a new level of respect, because that little dip into, oh, that's fine, like, oh, I'm just going to do that this once, can be enough to throw your energy off. And the energies are strong enough right now that if you're just that little bit vulnerable, it can really throw you off for a long time. So be honest with yourself about that, and be gentle. And yeah, just, you know, often sometimes we're giving up something that we think we really like, um in terms of food, or familiarity, and we're actually doing something. We're inviting space for something much better to come along, like some other ritual or habit that's even better than we realized. So just give that a little bit of trust. And our final card here is the Ace of Scrolls. Very strong omen with the raven. And you know, my one of my favorite aspects about this card is the wood that's underneath, in the image, and the keys. And what's really like this, what came through in the download earlier this week and is still coming through so strongly now, is that challenging beginnings create the most beautiful revolutions. And so allow for the difficulty of what is happening right now to set you up for a foundation to know that, whew, I got past that really difficult beginning, and everything else is going to be easier because I know that I can get through pretty much anything. This really is meant to be a heralding card of, yeah, stuff is really challenging right now and it feels really intense and really sticky right now, but this is the beginning of something that is better. And so whether that applies to a small scale thing in your life or the greater sort of belief of what's going on at large, know that we are at the beginning of something. And it can often feel, we can be at a point of giving up and thinking like, okay, this isn't going to work, when things actually start to pick up. So don't throw in the towel just yet. You can suspend your disbelief for just a little bit longer and know that we are at the beginning and that things will get easier and it will be worth it. So that is all I have for you today. This is a long reading. Again, this is only going to YouTube and people on Facebook through YouTube. And so YouTube family, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for subscribing. Please like and share and subscribe to this video, and subscribe to my channel. If you would like to book a private reading or a distance healing with me, you can email me in the link, or in the email in the description box. You can message me on Instagram, but Facebook is probably best. Indigo Instinct Healing on Facebook. If you would like to support my work, there is a link in the description box below for PayPal, and that will allow me to continue to do this work on a greater scale, put out more meditations, continue to do the sound healing that I am doing on YouTube, which I haven't put up yet, and allow things to continue to flow. So thank you so much for your time. I will put a timestamp on this one because it's long, and I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful full moon in Capricorn. Blessings.